Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday evening, August the 1st, 2021. I hope everyone is safe and doing as well as possible. I'd like to welcome all of you to the show today. This will be my weekly update that I'll be putting on YouTube, where I go over methane, sea ice, earthquakes, climate, things like that, just so that we can have a weekly overview of what's gone on and where we're at right now in the grand scheme of things. So it was a hard week. I know everybody's suffering, but we're still here. And I do updates during the week that I post for my Subscribe members, and we'd love to have you over there. The link is in the description box below if you'd like to come support and be part of the little community over there. That's one way to do it. But anyway, we might as well do it while we can, because things could fall apart really fast and then we don't even have any way to communicate. So, that's just my opinion there. So we're going to start with the NOAA methane data. This is for yesterday, July 31st. This is for the 477/469 millibar reading. Now it says MET-OP B, and this was renamed from being MET-OP 1. So 1 is now MET-OP B. This is the morning reading. And the mean or average was 1917 parts per billion. The high reading is 2322. And we have this range. See this pink color down here? This is a range between 2,000 parts per billion and whatever is the highest number in each reading. So here it goes up to 2322. And we don't know where the highest reading happened because we don't have access to the inside information. But we're seeing pinks even in the southern hemisphere. See? Notice around the coastline of the Antarctic especially, but pinks all throughout the northern hemisphere as well at this level. In the afternoon, the mean was 1919. The high reading was 2368. This is the MET-OP 2 satellite, which has been renamed MET-OP A. And this is the morning reading. The high reading, or the mean, was 1899, so that's getting up there. The high reading was 2356. And in the afternoon, the mean was 1897. The high reading was 2368. Here's the spreadsheet and chart where I've been tracking all of this. Started in March of 2019. So this is my third summer to track the methane going up and down and everything, or third year in fact. So for the 31st, it averages out to be 1908 parts per billion. Now last week it had gone down to 1906, and so last week we had a decrease of 3.5, but now we're showing an increase of 2 parts per billion. So we can see the little blue line going back up here. So that's where we went up this week. Now a year ago, so the change from a year ago is we're 17.5 parts per billion higher than a year ago. and since March the 1st, we're 50.75 parts per billion from March the 1st of 2019. Somewhat from way down here all the way up through these hills and valleys up to just under 1910. And methane goes through cycles. As you can see here, it goes up and down and up and down, and we're in the up cycle right now. And generally it's in the up cycle, usually starts around well, it's been starting earlier in the year. It started in February this year, but the steady up cycle is generally starting in around June, going until around September or October, and then it goes down during the winter, and then it starts back up. And the problem is that our lows are higher than we were the year before. See, so here was the low in 2019, and then go up, and then here is the low. Actually, it didn't go to the lowest until January of 2021, but for that winter, for last winter. So, and see, it's still higher, a lot higher than the low from before. And then here we are, and here were the twin peaks from last year, where we peaked out on methane at 1904.25 parts per billion, and we hit that the first part of July, and so we're not going to go back down to that for a while. Now let's see what happened this week. Now we were able to get data every single day, so that's a plus. So here was the data that I presented last Sunday. So it was for the day before, the 24th, it was 1906. And that was a decrease in one day of 4.25. And the day before that, see, remember, if you missed my show last week, the METOP-1 satellite was missing data for 3 days, so we didn't have good readings for 3 days. Then when it came back online on the 23rd with the 4 readings, we ended up at 1910.25. Now that's the highest we've been so far this year. And I thought we were going to end up higher last week, but then we had a surprise, and on the 24th it dropped in one day 4.25, giving us a decrease last week of 3.5. And I'm beginning to wonder if they did a reset on this, kind of like they do with cams, where they reset the algorithms to anyway. But I'm beginning to wonder if we had a reset, but I can't prove it. So here we were last Saturday, 1906. Then on Sunday it went up 0.25. Monday it went down 0.25. Tuesday it went up 1.5. Wednesday it went down 1.25, so just stair-stepping. Thursday it went up 0.5. Friday it went up 0.75. And Saturday it went up 0.5. So for 3 days in a row now, it's been going up. That gives us finally an increase of 2 parts per billion this week. So that's where we are with the NOAA data. Now I'm a little disappointed with CAMS, but we go through this every few weeks. They start holding up the data for whatever reason, and right now they've only got 2 days worth up. I've already reported on this on Subscribestar, but the latest data they have is for Thursday the 29th, and so we can look at that. So let's see what happened on the 29th. Here it went up 0.5, and it was at 1906.75, and it's gone up since then. So we're not going to have an accurate comparison with what we're seeing, but this is what we've got. So I've got Thursday the 29th loaded up, Arctic view and surface level ready to go. Here's our color ledger. So the data is for Thursday, and the forecast period is Friday through Monday. As soon as they start releasing new data, I'll start recording it. We've got it popping up on Iceland, if you look, and we've had earthquakes. The volcano is billowing again. Look at that. See that? Our problem spot in the North Atlantic is still here. Now watch these waves move off of Russia. We've got green. We've got waves. It's like a wave flinging out here from Komsomolets. And see, here it goes, and it only goes through Monday, and then, but you can imagine it just keeps going across the Arctic. Now we've got a really high area here in Russia from this is from Yakutia north. This is from the fires. It's almost all, when you look at the maps and the models, this is almost solid with wildfires, and the smoke is so thick you just can't see through it, and it shows up on NASA Worldview, and so it's affecting the Arctic and everything. And then so when it rains and you get the smoke, that heavy smoke caught up over the Arctic, and then it rains or snows, and then all the particulates and whatever's being burned in the smoke falls down on the sea ice. A couple of things happen. First of all, it makes the sea ice darker, so it's less reflective and absorbs more radiation from the sun, thus more heat. Another thing that happens is because of the chemical composition of the water or the snow, it's more acidic, and so it's going to eat up the ice faster. And there are lots of toxins in it too, just depending on what's being burned. So it's tragic. It's, my heart is so heavy. And but this is what we've got. These are the times we're living in. See this green wave? It's filling up the Laptev Sea. We've got more green here in Alaska, and the interior is going to be coming back to life. It's been raining up here. Then you've got Canada. The fires are still billowing up there. We had massive fires from the west over, and the smoke is really affecting the whole planet. If you haven't experienced it yet, you will, especially if you live in the northern hemisphere. It will eventually affect all of the planet. And it could be there's so much smoke that it's kind of causing a cooling effect. But in the long run, it's really not good, because the smoke will block out sunlight. But then you've got the fires raging, which it doesn't really even out. Here we're looking at the North Pole view. See this Scandinavian area, that's still really high. Look at that. Here's Europe, this European area. Here's the UK and Ireland. This is the Persian Gulf. Here's India. Here's China. See how that's filling back up. Here's Korea. And then North America with Canada and the US. And then Central America. Now we're going to go down to the Antarctic. And I looked back to early July of last year on my website, on my Subscribe Star archives. And there was methane coming up in July of last year on this western peninsula in the Antarctic, and also here at the Brunt Ice Sheet, just like what we're seeing here. And this is isolated. We can see it's not streaming down from South America or somewhere else. It's coming up on the edges of the continent there. And it's a different color. It's a higher reading. And notice also that today, or Thursday, this background color is almost all in the light blue in the southern hemisphere. So that's a step up. The dark blue was 1800 parts per billion. The light blue is 1820. So that's showing an increase overall of at least 20 parts per billion for the methane, for the background color. Oops. Here's the global view. So notice this light blue, it's coming all the way to the bottom of the picture there. We had just a little bit of the dark blue, but the light blue has now overtaken for the majority of the southern hemisphere. And some areas are even a higher reading, going up into the aqua colors. Especially, see down here around Sumatra. And see it's higher around this east coastline of Australia. We can actually see Australia now. We can see the outline. That black outline didn't show up very well against the dark blue, but we can see the outline of the whole Antarctic, New Zealand, Australia, all of southern Africa. Same thing with South America. You know, anywhere where it was dark blue before. Now we can see those continents. We can see the white spot coming back here. This is around the Beijing area, and this is where methane is higher than the reading on the chart. See that? There it is. Now we'll go to 500 HPA. Here's what we've got for Thursday. And so it's gone up since Thursday. So the highest readings are here over India and spreading out over to China, Japan. We've got reds here, in Africa and Saudi Arabia, lots of reds spreading out across North America. We've got solid green down to the bottom of the picture, and see the lighter colors, which denotes a higher reading that's creeping further south as well. Here's total column. Now this is methane added up through all the layers. And we can see it's highest here over northern India. See the red, how it's just one long red line from the Red Sea east all the way across to the ocean. We've got some red up here in Russia. We've got some red up here in, I think this is Colombia in South America. And then see the red-orange, that will be the next part that will be turning red as methane keeps rising. While I'm here, I wanted to also show, let's go to today, carbon monoxide. Look at this. This is that's from the fires in Russia. See that whole area, and this is showing how it's just sucked the oxygen out of that area. It's carbon monoxide, and that's the highest reading is light blue, but so it's not there yet, and then if it goes off the chart it'll appear white. I was showing that when we were having the fires last summer in California and the West Coast, it was, some days it was whole blobs where it was just white, where it was just off the chart. And even though there are fires burning, the smoke is not nearly as bad here in the Reno area. This year, we've had days where it's been bad, and it's in the air, and it mixes in, with the clouds and everything, but it's not nearly as bad as it was last year. Now, I'm going to go on and go through these pictures before we go to sea ice. Here's sulfur dioxide for today, and we can see higher readings here over Russia. That's from the fires. And see this high reading from over Iceland. That's from the volcano there. And here it is at 500 HPA. And so we've got some higher readings here over Iceland. It was really high a couple of days ago, just zipped right up there. And then down here in Peru, in the little elbow, here it's high. We've had plate movement because of all of the earthquakes along here. There are volcanoes down here too. We've also got the red here at Popocatépetl volcano. Here's the smoke. This is from CAMS from today. This is the North Pole view. This is Russia, where the smoke is. Look at how much of the land it's covering. It's solid red. And then here's from the west coast of the U.S. and up into Canada and all across. You can see the smoke just covering everything. But the worst part is Russia, and see it streaming out over the Arctic, and you'll see it on NASA World View. You won't even be able to see the water because of the smoke. Here's the flat view, just to give you some perspective. Look at this wide area in Russia. And then here's Africa. Here's South America with some smoke where it's burning. And the smoke here in North America is awful too. But it's nothing compared to what's going on in Russia. That's all of those. Now we'll move on to the sea ice part of the report. I'm going to start with my slideshow. This is from Climate Reanalyzer, sea ice and snow cover for today. Did I say it was August 1st? I don't remember what date I said it was. Can't believe it's August. So we can see that a lot of this Arctic Ocean has opened up. The edges are melting in, and on this western edge in the Chukchi Sea and Beaufort Sea, it's thinning way down. It's been raining up here, and you can see more open water here around the coastline of Alaska. The Baffin Bay is pretty much clear. Hudson Bay is clear. There's really no ice to speak of on the eastern side of Greenland. There's just a little bit of the thicker ice here in the North Kara Sea, and anyway, that's what we've got right now. And these tributaries are opening up as well. And when we look through at the other models, you're going to see that even though the extent looks pretty good, but it's right around where we were at 2012. But in 2012, this was so much thicker. And a lot of this area is quite thin, and there are lots of holes in the ice and open water. And so don't let this deceive you, thinking that it's just extent that we look at. It's not. We look at all of the different aspects. So here we were last Sunday in my show on the 25th, and immediately you can see the edges were out further. There was more ice up here in the North Kara Sea, and this was more on this west side. See, it's more solid there. So let's run through this. Here was Sunday. Here's Monday. Tuesday. Look at that. You see the difference in the shade, the color? That's because it's been raining, and so this ice is melting. So it's getting less concentrated. There's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and here's today. So we're seeing the ice really going down here in this North Kara Sea, and like I said, these edges melting in too. So that's all that one. Now we'll go to the U.S. Navy sea ice models. This is for the Arctic region for today, and here's the color ledger on the right. Potentially it goes up to about 5 meters with the dark red, and you're not going to see, I would be surprised if we see any dark red here right now. Most of it's either in purple or light purple down to light lavender, and like this kind of medium lavender is 0.5 meter thick. The dark purple is 1 meter thick. The dark aqua is about 1.5 meters thick. The bright aqua is about 2 meters thick. And we're probably not going to see anything above the aqua. We might see a little bit of green, but I'd be surprised. And so that's what's so shocking, to see the thinning, how fast it's thinning down. So here we are today. Notice above Greenland, remember how this was, see the aqua went way out here of just a few weeks ago, and now it's thinned down and it's going into the purple zone, and there's just a little ridge just north of Greenland that's in the aqua, and then here above the Canadian archipelago, this is breaking up. See the different colors coming in, and these tributaries are melting. It's melting and flowing out. The nearest strait has opened up a whole lot. Over here in the Beaufort Sea, here's what's left of the multi-year thickest sea ice. Sad but true, and we watched it during the winter sliding down and compressing here in the Beaufort Sea. and now it's being pulled apart, and it's raining up there right now, and so it's melting very quickly. And I'd be surprised if we have any of that left by the end of the melt season. Here's the Laptev Sea. It's completely open, and notice how it's melting in here in quadrant 1. This is the 80-degree north latitude circle, this circle all the way around. And the North Pole is at 90 degrees. So this is melting in. And notice the thinness. Notice how thin this is, where it's just different colors of the purple, but see the whitish. You'll see on NASA Worldview that where it's kind of whitish, these are areas where the ice has broken apart, and you'll see open water in between the ice. Here's the 30-day animation. The data goes back 3 weeks, and the forecast period goes out to a week from now, which is next Sunday, the 8th. I thought I'd gotten the right one. That only goes to the 7th. Hold on. I'm gonna get... I know they put up the 8th. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So the data goes back 3 weeks. The forecast period goes out a week. It ends on next Sunday, the 8th. So let's zoom in and look at what the model is forecasting. We can also see how fast it's melted in the last 3 weeks. Look at these tributaries opening up. See the white? That means no ice in those areas. Look at that. That's shocking. Look how it's thinning down above Greenland. Also here. Now the melt season typically, but nothing's typical anymore. In the past, usually they call the minimum at around September 15th or around the 19th. And then it starts refreezing. But I've seen it continue to melt even into October. And so, things have changed so much up there in the Arctic. It's a different ecosystem now, and there are lots of different factors at play. So I don't think that we can count on it being at its minimum in 6 weeks, Yeah, it could slow down on the melting, but the sea surface temperature is heating up really, really fast, and so as that heats up, it's going to be harder for it to refreeze. Okay, here we are. This is at the end of the forecast period, and see just a little bit of ice up here in the North Kara Sea. Look, this is so thin all the way. See, here's the North Pole, and so see, this is light lavender and almost white. So I expect, here's what I expect before the melt season is over, that most of quadrants 1 and 2 will go ice free. We may see little wisps of ice, trails of ice. See where you have the aqua right now, that may not all completely melt, but it'll go way down. And then here in quadrant 3, I expect for a lot of quadrant 3 to melt out, and we may have some of this ice left above Greenland. And then here in quadrant 4, I expect the Beaufort Sea to open up, and I don't even know if we'll have any of this ice left here, this thicker ice in the Beaufort Sea. If we do, it'll just be big chunks, and then we may have a little bit left here, just in a line here above the Canadian archipelago. Most of this will be gone. That's what I expect, because as these tributaries open up, and the ice drift, or the drift of the ocean and everything, pushes the ice over to the coastline, there's not going to be anything holding it in, and it's going to come out. It's going to float. It could just flow right out. That's my thinking. So I don't know. We could see the blue ocean event. We could see it. It just depends on what happens. But even if we don't have what they officially call a blue ocean event this year, just the changes that are happening, I mean, it's the weather, it will just be catastrophic with the weather, with what's happening. It's going to change everything. It's all changing. You can see it. Okay, so here we are. This is the Beaufort Sea ice thickness. This is for today. Here's what's left of the multi-year thick ice. And you can see it's spreading out and coming apart. You can see these lines. These are the leads opening up in the ice. What am I doing? Where's I replaced the wrong one. Anyway, you get the idea. Now here is the Antarctic. Now the extent is more than what it's been. So the extent is good. Someone left a comment under my show last week saying that the ice is melting off the Antarctic and flowing out and causing it to look like the extent is growing. You know, that could be. I don't know. It could be. But the Arctic is what what we're really concerned about. It is really the air conditioner of the world. And one thing I've noticed here in the Antarctic, and this is the 30-day animation, I want you to look down here, see around these coastlines, how they're opening up. See, the ice was around the coastline and now it's pulled out. I don't know why that is. You know, could it be heating up? Could it be volcanoes that are... Why is the ice melting around the coastlines? See? There are huge areas of open water down here around the coastlines. So I don't know. That's all of those. Now we'll move on. Let's go over Climate Reanalyzer next. Here, maximum 2-meter temperatures for today. We can see most of the Arctic is green. Either kind of a light green or even dark green. This is above freezing. There's just a little bit of blue here in the East Siberian Sea, but the rest of it, see, that's above freezing. See all the whites? That's really hot. That's above 100 degrees. Around 100 degrees, or at least 100 or higher. And we've got whites, lots of whites here in North America too. Here's 2-meter temperature anomaly for today. Now look up here. This is at the Laptev Sea, and this is the Taimyr Peninsula. It's turning red. The land is kind of reddish brown, lots of brown. These are where fires are. This is the area where a lot of fires are burning. So this is hotter than normal. Then look at this whole big swath in North America, browns, Canada going all the way up, Greenland, a lot of that's in the brown. And then we got blues right next to all of these areas. So it's crazy weather. It's just not typical at all. Worldwide, we're up 0.2 C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is up 0.6 C. The Arctic is up 0.9 C. The tropics are up 0.3 C. Southern hemisphere is down 0.2 C. The Antarctic is at negative 2.2 C, lower than normal. Here's precipitation today. See all the green, that's rain. So it's raining over this whole Beaufort Sea area, so that will melt the ice even faster. Look at all the rain coming in over Alaska. They've been getting a lot of rain. And then we've got some rain coming out over the Laptev Sea. Now this is mixed in with lots of smoke. You'll see that on NASA Worldview. And then rain in unexpected places. Look at the rain at Greenland. Greenland has been melting like crazy this week. I've been showing that this week as well. Look at this jet looping. That's not a stream. It's looping. The jet looping. We saw sea ice and snow cover. Here's sea surface temperature anomaly. This is as of yesterday. Now this chart goes up to 6C higher than normal. That's in the whitish pink color. We're seeing that showing up here in the Kara Sea and here in the Laptev Sea. Also, there's a lot of that over around Japan. Then we've got reds and browns. See here in the Laptev Sea, pretty much anywhere it's melted. And see the warmer water is right up at the ice edge, so melting away. Look at here around Greenland. That's not looking good at all. Look at this. And then I'm real concerned about this area around Japan. See, this is like twice as bad as last week when we looked at this. We've got into this the highest readings here along the coastline, along Korea and Russia, and then east, going out in the Pacific. I don't know if this is from the radioactive water from Fukushima or what, but there's methane. We saw green waves of methane, green methane hanging around in this area too. We saw that on cams. So I don't know what kind of toxins are being produced over here. Whatever it is, it's not good. Could we see a methane bomb go off over here? Why not? Why not? I mean, methane, they found it in seabeds all around the world. I mean, why couldn't it go off over here? Wouldn't it be just something like that where we're paying so close attention to the Arctic and then it goes off here by Japan? Wouldn't that be something? Now, this is the Black Sea. See, that's hot. The Mediterranean's heating up. It is just not looking good at all. Worldwide, we're up 0.5 C higher than normal. Northern Hemisphere, North Atlantic, and North Pacific are up 0.8 C. Southern Hemisphere is up 0.2 C, and the Equatorial Pacific is up 0.1 C. So the oceans are looking pretty bad. Now we'll move on. This is from the National Snow and Ice Data Center. We're looking at the Arctic sea ice. I have blue marble layer chosen and concentration and daily. And this data is as of yesterday, the 31st. See the blues? The darker blue it is, that's the more it's melted and the less concentrated it is. So this correlates with what we see on the Navy model. And there's not much white where it's really concentrated and well put together. And so see, it's melting all the way across. This is the sea ice extent. Blow that up. This dotted line was 2012, and this blue line is this year. We're just a tiny bit above. We've been running just about parallel with 2012 as far as the extent. This is the average up here. We're way below average. Now, here's the Antarctic. See all the blue here. So here's the chart for their extent. The blue line is this year. See how much higher it is than the other years. This green-gray line was last year. It was below normal last year. And this gray line is average. So we're pretty good ways above average there. Now, Greenland is looking awful. Here, this is as of yesterday. See the salmon color? That's where it's melting, that whole area. And it looked worse than this earlier this week. But that's bad. And see, it's been, what am I doing? Here we go. These are the cumulative melt days for this whole year. See, it's melting way in on the interior even. Here's the melt extent. And it spiked here, I think on Wednesday. I have that. See, it broke all kinds of records. It was about 50, it looks like almost 55% melt extent. So on the salmon colored one, about half of the continent was under melt. And it's been coming down, but it's still higher than what we want. The dotted line is average. So Greenland's in big trouble. And as a result of all of that melting, we've been seeing, I think it's as a result of it, we've been seeing a lot of Arctic earthquakes this week that I'll show you too. Now we'll move on to NASA Worldview. This is the Arctic. I have sea ice concentration turned on. I'll turn on the blue marble layer. Now this cuts out the clouds. So here's what it's doing right now. The black area is where there's no ice. Wherever you see colors, that's where it's melting. And where you see it going through the colors of the rainbow, that's in high melt. And we can see evidence of the high melt here in the Beaufort Sea, because it's raining here. We saw that. And these edges, and see the interior. It's, see all these reds coming in. So let's go back. There was July 1st, so that was a month ago. We'll go back to last Sunday. Here we were last Sunday. Let's just go through this. There's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then today. So we're seeing the edges really move in. And it's thinning a lot. And I like the Navy model because we can really see the levels of how much it's thinned out. Or, thinness and thickness. Now here's the satellite view. And look at this smoke. This is Russia. This is the area that we saw all red on cams. Look at this. You can't see through that. You can't see through it at all. And see the gray coming all the way across. And it's raining here too. So it's mixing in with the rain. Look at that. Just a murky soup in the atmosphere. So this is right over the Laptev Sea. There's no ice there. The ice edge comes in here. Here's New Siberian Islands. There's no ice around this coastline. That's opened up. Here's some ice. See? But that's really coming apart. Here we go. See the ice here? Here's ice. Here's where it's opening up. See that? And there are quite a few clouds. We can't always see the ice. So see this area. So that's starting to come apart and be not as concentrated. Here we go. Here's the Beaufort Sea. Look. Here's Barrow, Alaska. Here's the rain. Here's the big rain cloud. See, coming all the way across. Comes all the way. And then here's Canada. See what we can see here. Here's Ellesmere Island. See, it's melting inside there. Now here's Greenland. Here's the north end. Look at that. Look how much the ice has melted, how much of the bare rock you can see. This is the east side. See, there's almost no ice there. See, that's open. That's open. And here's the rain on the southern tip. And this ice is melting. And then here's Baffin Bay. It's open. Here's this western edge. And then here's the nearest strait. See? That's come apart. It's moving down. It's melting. Here's Svalbard. Oh, let's look at Iceland. Here's Iceland. It's been raining here too. They've had a bunch of earthquakes just to the south, right down here, since yesterday. Here's Svalbard. We've had earthquakes up here in the Fram Strait this week. Here's Franz Josef Land. This is, see, it's melted in here. Here's Novaya Zemlya. Here's the Kara Sea, that's open. Here's some ice. Here's what's left in the North Kara Sea. Here's, this is Komsomolets, and this is the area that we see billowing on cams for the last year and a half. So that's what it looks like today. Let me go back. See if we can get a better view. Here's the ice north of Greenland. See, it's coming away from the coastline there. Here's a big open area here. See that? Here's where it's melting. See? Here was the smoke yesterday. Look at this. It's just awful. Just looks like a mess up here. Here's the Beaufort Sea. Look, we can see the ice here. See where it's coming apart. See? Let's go back another day. Look at this. See how that's opened up. This is next to part of this archipelago. What is that? McClure Strait. So it's been hard to see much of anything because of the snow, not the snow, sorry, the rain and the smoke. Now here it was on Friday. Look at this. See the open water here. This is Severnaya Zemlya here. Look at, this is the Vovolov ice cap. There's smoke coming over it, but it's pouring. It's just pouring down. And see how these ice caps have shrunk. Look at this. Here you can see the ice. Let's see. Here. Look at this above Greenland. See all of this? That's opening up. Here we can see this eastern edge. See? That's really moving in now. So there's that. Now we'll go back to today. Now we'll move on to earthquakes. There's the website. I took these pictures this afternoon. We've had incredible earthquakes this week. The what was it, 8.2 in the Aleutian Islands. We've had all kinds of stuff. Here are the earthquakes up here just south of Iceland. See all these dots along this western coast of South America. New Zealand, they had 2 down here today. So we'll go through these. There were 276 worldwide when I took these pictures. In the lower 48, we're seeing 143. We've got movement on the Juan de Fuca plate. This was I think it was a 4 something out here in the Pacific. Southern California had 29. Searles Valley Ridgecrest area had 23. This is western Nevada over to Mammoth Lakes and Colville. There were 37. 1.4 at Beckworth, California. I'm just showing, this is kind of in the Reno picture there. San Andreas fault line had 11. The largest was a 3.1 at Hollister. The geysers had 24. This is Northern California. We've got 3 at Alder Springs, a 1.9, 2.3, and a 2.2, and a 1.6 at Petrolia. Here is that 4.2 on the Juan de Fuca plate there, off the coast of Oregon. This is the Pacific Northwest. There were 11, and notice there's nothing here in yet the Yellowstone area. Nothing. So it's all over here in this Cascadia zone. The largest was a 2.1 near Hamilton, Washington, and only 0.4 kilometers deep. West Texas only had 1, a 2.8. Nothing in Oklahoma. We had 2 at Mascot, Tennessee, a 2.1 and a 1.8. Here we have 7 stacked. What is that? 7 stacked up in the same place, just south of Iceland on the red line. The largest was a 5.2. These all came in the last 24 hours. Puerto Rico had 9. Here's South America. We're seeing 6 here, and see, they're all along this western coast, even up here in Colombia, 5.0. So lots of movement. Hawaii's showing 15. Here's Alaska, we've got 76. Now this area right down here, see the big cluster, that's where the 8.2 came in. So it's slowing down, but it's still rocking. Here in the South Pacific, we've got a 5.0 at Tokoroa, New Zealand. This was on land on the northern island. And we had a 3.4 near Burnham, New Zealand. That's on the southern island. We had a 4.2 at Levuka, Fiji, 545 kilometers deep, and a 4.6 at Hihifo, Tonga, only 4.3 kilometers deep. Then here in Indonesia, the Indonesia area, 4.9 at Yigo Village, Guam, 4.6 Tondano, Indonesia, 4.6 Lae, Papua New Guinea, and 4.5 Marizo Village, Guam. Japan area had 2, a 4.4 at Nago and a 4.3 at Tateyama. Then 4.6, the reporting station was Tajikistan, but it looks like it's in Afghanistan. 4.6 near Ishkoshem, Tajikistan. We've got 7 in this picture. We've got a 4.3 at Negresti, Romania, right up here. A 3.3 at Kosovo, and then the rest of them are clustered down here in the Mediterranean. 5.7, they're all in the same place, Mandraki, Greece. 5.7, 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, and 4.1. So a lot of movement there, and that's off the coast of Turkey. Then we've got a 3.6 at Alberton, South Africa. And then I went back and highlighted this one, was a 5.2 in Mexico. This is just south of the Arizona border, Bavispe, Mexico. That came in yesterday. That's all of those. Now, I want to show, I'm going to turn on all magnitudes for the last 7 days. So in the last week, this is what's happened. Look at this. 2,629. See up here by Svalbard. Another one by Iceland. We had 3 up here in the Laptev Sea. See, 3 in a row. And I think these Arctic earthquakes probably has a lot of it may have to do with this ice sheet melting on Greenland, because it's shifting and becoming lighter, and so it's the tectonic plates are shifting. Look at all this movement down here in the South Pacific, and just all, look at this, all the way along these red lines around the Pacific plate. Now let's look at that 8.2. It first came in, they first put it as a 7 something, and then the USGS upgraded it to an 8.2. Here it is, Perryville. This came in at 11:15 Pacific time at night on the 28th, which was Wednesday night. And right now we're seeing 172 in this area for the last week. I just think it's amazing how a lot of these big earthquakes just happen in the ocean. And the ocean will buffer the vibration. You won't have near as much damage if it's in the ocean. And then Indonesia, look down here, 6.2, Luwuk, Indonesia. That was on the 26th. And of note also, look at the movement around this Cocos plate and up here on the Imperial fault line. We had 2 in the Gulf of California, and then that one in Mexico, and so it's triggered all of this along this San Andreas. Look up here, look at Texas. This West Texas area has gone crazy. 35 just in that one area. Let's look at, I want to look at Greece. Okay, so here are, we've got 7 here in Mandrake. Northern Africa had earthquakes. And then up here, Iceland had 2 on land. And then we've got these others south. Here, see this one in the Fram Strait, just between Svalbard and Greenland, right on the red line. So, that's my report for this week. And one of the main reasons I do this is because I believe we are in the end times, and I'm kind of tracking and following everything with the weather and with this abrupt climate change having to do with what's going on in the Bible too, prophetic things in the Bible. But I also like to bring it back to a spiritual focus and to remind people that our days are short here, and they're getting shorter all the time as we see what's going on. And I believe we are in the end times, and you can make all kinds of preparations. You can buy up storable food, you can move to less populated areas, you can do your farming, you do whatever. But the bottom line is we need to be prepared spiritually, because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know when our last day is going to be. I mean, people are dying all the time. And are you ready? Are you ready to go to the other side? Are you prepared spiritually? And if you're not, I think it might be a good thing to just do a spiritual house life review and see, are there people that you need to forgive? Are there people that you need to be forgiven for what you've done too? Do you need to ask for God's forgiveness for your behavior? Are you going to be found worthy to be counted among God's kingdom when it comes time? And as the days get darker and it gets more crazy, we need spiritual guidance. We need a spiritual compass, and we can get that through God and Jesus. And if we don't have that, I can't even imagine it, but people will be floundering. So tonight I'm reading out of 1 Timothy. These are Paul's letters to Timothy. 1 Timothy chapter 5. Rebuke not an elder, but entreat him as a father, and the younger men as brethren, the elder women as mothers, the younger as sisters, with all purity. Honor widows that are widows indeed. But if any widow have children or nephews, let them learn first to shew piety at home, and to requite their parents, for that is good and acceptable before God. Now she that is a widow indeed and desolate trusteth in God, and continueth in supplications and prayers night and day. But she that liveth in pleasure is dead while she liveth. And these things give in charge, that they may be blameless. But if any provide not for his own, and specially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith, and is worse than an infidel. Let not a widow be taken into the number under 60 years old, having been the wife of one man, well reported of for good works, if she have brought up children, if she have lodged strangers, if she have washed the saints' feet, if she have relieved the afflicted, if she have diligently followed every good work. But the younger widows refuse, for when they have begun to wax wanton against Christ, they will marry, having damnation, because they have cast off their first faith, and withal they learn to be idle, wandering about from house to house, and not only idle, but tattlers also, and busybodies, speaking things which they ought not. I will therefore that the younger women marry, bear children, guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. For some are already turned aside after Satan. If any man or woman that believeth have widows, let them relieve them, and let not the church be charged, that it may relieve them that are widows indeed. Let the elders that rule well be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. For the Scripture saith, Thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the labor is worthy of his reward. Against an elder receive not an accusation, but before 2 or 3 witnesses. Them that sin rebuke before all, that others also may fear. I charge thee before God and the Lord Jesus Christ and the elect angels, that thou observe these things without preferring one before another, doing nothing by partiality. Lay hands suddenly on no man, neither be partaker of other men's sins. Keep thyself pure. Drink no longer water, but use a little wine for thy stomach's sake and thine often infirmities. Some men's sins are open beforehand, going before to judgment, and some men they follow after. Likewise also the good works of some are manifest beforehand, and they that are otherwise cannot be hid. 1 Timothy chapter 5. So I'm praying for everyone. Hope you have a good week and that you have wisdom and understanding, and we just need to have a lot of acceptance too, and do what you can, but know when you got to give it up to God too. He's in charge. Remember, He's allowing things to happen to bring about His will. We don't understand a lot of it, but that's okay. So I love you all, and I'm praying for you. Until next time, God bless you. Go in peace, and I will talk to you soon. Good night.